So the first presentation that we're going to hear from today is from Ruth Betcher from Minnesota DOT, and it's going to be on Georillia. Just a brief overview of the presentation. Currently the Minnesota DOT is using an interactive GIS mapping tool called Georillia, and it's based on an open source technology with underlying code coming from GeoMoose. And Ruth's presentation today is going to highlight how Georillia has helped the Minnesota DOT share its spatial data within the organization, and it's also going to demonstrate how data can be found inside the tool and how to access other data. Georillia is a unified location for both GIS and non-GIS professionals to find roadway details from a spatial web map. So that's an overview of Ruth's presentation today. And Ruth Betcher is an engineer who's been with Minnesota DOT for over 20 years. She currently works in the DOT at the Rochester District Planning Office, and she works to improve spatial data development and mapping for her district. She's earned several degrees and has the experience to back her education. She has a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville and a Master of Business Administration from St. Thomas University of Minnesota. In addition, she has a BS in Computer Science from Winona State University and a Master's GIS certificate from St. Mary's University of Minnesota. And she is also a registered professional engineer in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So with that, we are going to jump right into Ruth's presentation. Brian, if you could give Ruth control of the webinar, she can get started.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, I think, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
One screen, does it, I'm hoping this live demonstration will work. Okay, so because Georillia is, so can you see my Google screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm presenting on Georillia. I'm going to try to do a live demonstration. MnDOT's official site for GIS display is an ArcGIS online site called MinMaps that we've worked through the U plan to do. This is where the authoritative source data can be seen. It's the shared MnDOT authoritative data can be found in MnGeo site, as well as many other statewide source data sets. For internal consumption and viewing of GIS data, we use a website called Georillia. This open source GIS viewing is based on open source software package called GeoMoose, and it's using open layers and map server and Dojo toolkit. We actually have 3 versions of Georillia. The first version, the Metro District developed, and I've done a Georillia site for District 6. I'm going to show you that one. We are working towards doing, I'm going to just open it up because you can see there. Okay, so remember this is an internal site, so this URL is not going to work for most people, only within the MnDOT. So this is Georillia 1. This is the District 6 Georillia site. There's also another site that's called, okay, Georillia 2. I'm going to open up that one too. Is not as developed. We're working on it right now, and but it's much faster, and and I'll demonstrate how much faster this Georillia 2 is. Then there's Georillia 3, which is being worked on right now, and that'll be used for mobile technologies also. So we like Georillia because it's everything in one place. And I'm going to demonstrate why I say that. It's really a one-stop shop for your fingertips. So I'm going to begin with Georillia. And when you open up Georillia, you'll see, and because this is a District 6, it just zooms right to the District 6 Rochester District. You'll see different toolbars that are available to you. There's a catalog, and that would be for all the different feature class layers that we have. And then there's the information screen. And when we want to get more information about a feature, it comes up in the information tab. Then there's always the jump to. So within my demonstration, I'll show you how the jump to works. We can jump to different districts or different parts of the state. So I'm going to just start with just to show you some of our assets. They're categorized in groups. So you have assets, activities, projects, route information, routes, boundaries, natural resources, land use and features, public utilities, and other imagery. So we're just going to go to assets. I've opened up assets, and I was a hydraulics engineer, so I'm kind of impartial to the hydraulics with our pipes. And when I turn on the pipes, you'll see there's red, green, and blue colors. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. So I turn the legend on, so you can see green are we have different conditions for our pipes. So green is condition 1 or 2, blue is condition 0, which means it was unrateable, and condition 3 or 4 means that we probably should think about working on them. So with this toolbar, we can zoom in on a pipe. So I'm just going to zoom in on right here. And when I zoom in, it starts coming up. And a lot of our departments really like it, because our environmental department can look and see which direction the water is flowing, because you see the flow arrows. That would be the direction of flow. So here's a condition 3 pipe, 3 or 4 pipe that's red. And now if I do an identify, I can click on that pipe and get more information about that pipe. I'm going to go back to the catalog. And I'm also going to turn on structures. So we also have structures available to you. That would be your drainage structure, your catch basins and whatnot. And again, you can do an identify on the structure to find out more information about each structure. So I'm going to just turn the pipes off. The next would be, and if I wanted to go back to a previous extent, I'm going to shut the structures off yet. Again, just like ArcGIS or ArcGIS, you can go back to different extents. Go back to the beginning. Now I'm back to the whole district. As I go through this, under assets, we have the signal systems. We have our system, our lighting structures. So we can actually get our light poles. And now this is just District 6, and I'll show you under, we have more statewide. This is just a District 6 feature, but you can zoom in on this, and the pole number shows up. So this is a light pole. So we've used our lighting system plans to find out which pole each one is. We have rural intersection lighting. That would be intersections throughout our district that have lights. lighting up the intersection for traffic safety. And I'm going to jump back to, I'm just going to go to jump to District 6A, which is the east side of our Rochester district. So we have signals, so I'm going to shut the systems off. ADA, we have an ADA layer. We have a number of ADA layers, but this layer that I'm turning on right now, actually, if I zoom in, it will give you all the ADA ped ramps, our sidewalk conditions, and the slope of the sidewalk at each of the different spots. So you can see the condition of the sidewalk along with slope in all the cities. So I'm going to jump back to District 6, district-wide. Then I'm going to turn off the ADA and go down to activities. Under activities, you know, you can see there's a lot of different activities going on, a lot of different assets that we have information on. But under materials, we actually have our soil borings. So again, it's not complete. It's a work in progress, but you can see these are where soil borings, and again, I'm going to go to the legend. I can turn the legend on. We either did coring of asphalts, concretes. We can look at the different cores. So here again, I could zoom in and get information about a soil boring, and it tells you all the different soil types at this location. So then I'm going to take you to projects. Under projects, we have our 10-year plan. It's being worked on. So every week I update, or I have a script that pushes that information, and Georillia consumes it, and we can see the different 10-year plan. And I'm just going to turn on, for instance, the 2017 projects. And again, I can do an identify and click on a project, and it'll come up, it'll tell me under this information tab, information about that project. Another site, our state aid, and what the state aid site is it would be our cities and counties that are getting state funds or federal funds. So our state aid engineer has identified projects. Now these are active projects. He also has suspended projects in here, so he can track his projects. And he's able to zoom in on the projects. And I'm hoping this doesn't take too long. When you do identify on, let's say, this project, then under this information tab, he can actually click on this spot, and it's going to pull up the construction plans for that project. So I'm hoping this doesn't take too long. So this is a PDF of the project. Not too bad. So you have to wait a little bit. Now this has 123 pages to this plan. So now he has the plan right available to him. He also can look at projects completed this year, projects completed last year. Another tool available are bridges. Now we have one where it's just the state bridges, but this layer, if I turn it on, hopefully it'll come on. And I'm going to do identify again, or drop down the legend. The yellow is bridge culvert, which would be any non-deck bridges that are over 10 feet wide at centerline would be classified as a bridge culvert. Otherwise, if it's got a bridge deck, it would be called a bridge. And I'm going to zoom in on a spot. I'm gonna okay, and then if you can do an identify on a bridge. Now here again, you get information, some information about a bridge. We don't have a lot of information, but right here, if they click on this spot, you can get bridge detail information. So now this takes you to another spot that's giving you a hydraulic report or inspection report on the bridge. So now it'll just, it should, yep, there's an inspection report for that bridge. The hydraulic report, our state aid engineer has used that quite often. When someone calls in and says, you have information on a bridge, he can look at that bridge and get the hydraulic information on that bridge. So next, after projects, I'm going to close, shut down, close it. We have route information. In route information, there's crashes. We can get crash information. The 511 site. We can get ADT, count locations, control sections. Under control sections, this wasn't working there. Okay, and I do an identify on, now see, now this, most of these roads are not state routes, but this is a state route. So I'm going to click on that, and it's loading. And I can view construction project logs. So this is a log of all the different construction projects with the project number available on that control section, on that piece of highway. We also have functional class, speed limits, reference posts. There's routes, there's boundaries. Under boundaries, I'm going to zoom out again to all of District 6. And when you go to right-of-way, we actually have the District 6 right-of-way. Now this is not going, this will not hold up in court. This is not survey grade quality, but what's nice is at the time, you know, like at a scoping of a project, you can actually maybe zoom in and find out where we have right-of-way, where a right-of-way line is. So like if you are going to fix a pipe and you can see that the right-of-way line might be outside, or the scour hole might be outside of the right-of-way line, maybe we might have to add some more time onto our construction or onto our scoping plans for construction to get the design done, because the right-of-way process takes about 18 months to 2 years to complete. Also, we have available the public land survey and the civil townships. So you can just turn it on. You can find out what your PLS section corners, section lines are, and what township you're in. Next, we have natural resources. And under natural resources, we have 2-foot contours that are available to people. They can just turn 2-foot contours on. Takes a little longer to load. It's a bigger file. We actually have under natural resources, we would have the railroad prairies sites. We have biodiversity sites. So I know that I'm going to take this hand tool and just kind of zoom over a little bit because I know there's a biodiverse site over here. So you can actually get information. Here again, I'll turn the legend on. It's either outstanding, high, moderate, or below. So it can give you some information if our project is in the area, what could be around. There's native plant communities layer. There's old air photos. So they can turn this one on, and it shows you where there's older old photos that were taken in the and what year it was taken. So if I drop down here, these were taken in the 1950s. So you could click on here and look at old air photos. There's also land use features and public utilities. So, and then I'm just going to take you quickly, I don't have a lot of time here, but I'm going to take you quickly to Georillia 2. Now this one, there aren't as many features available in here, but I just wanted to show how fast it is. It's very quick. And like under signs, we have all the signs inventoried, so you can see how fast it comes up. I'm going to just click on an area and click again. I'm going to zoom in one more time. And I'm going to do an identify on this sign right here. And again, instead of, and this said I didn't go close enough. So I need to go a little closer. And you can see where the line, the identification point was. I'm going to do an identify over on this sign right here. Okay, so instead of the information tab as in Georillia 1, Georillia 2, the identify tab there's an identify tab instead of information tab. You can actually see information about this sign. I'll do an identify on this one so you can see each sign is a little different. This one actually has freeway time on that freeway. So I'll turn the signs off, and then I'm just going to take you a couple more things that are available. Now this is the metro site, so there's a lot. They have done so much. This is the Twin Cities, Minneapolis-St. Paul area. They have collected so many features. I'm going to, again, you have the jump to. I'm going to jump to Metro. Okay, so now this is your signal systems, and I am going to zoom in on a spot. And I'm going to do identify on this signal system right here. And this one takes a little longer. Still loading. Okay, so now from here, I can click on here and I can get the signal plans, signal layout. I can get photos. So I can get the cabinet photo. So I can look at what the cabinet looked like. I can get agreements. So any agreement that was on that signal is here. I'm going to go back. So as you can see, this Georillia 2 is much faster. It just isn't as developed as Georillia 1. and the next rev is going to be Georillia 3. So I think my 30 minutes are up. Does anybody have questions?
Hey, this is Joe Schmidt from Washington DOT. I guess I have some questions for you, if that's cool. I didn't hear any noise from the coordinator there, so why did you choose open source tools?
The open source tools were actually, we were working on this before ArcGIS Online came about. So, and then we went with the U plan. There were some concerns about this information getting outside of the cloud. You know, the cloud is very concerning to our legal staff. So this way, I look at the open source as being a great way to divide what is internal and what is external.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about the different districts, and most DOTs are sort of aligned similarly. And so are each district in Minnesota there, are they collecting these inventories of assets, or specifically, is there an inventory program within the agency? I mean, so I got a couple questions relating to the asset inventory piece, but basically, who's your end user doing the data collection?
Okay, it depends. It depends. Okay, if certain functional units have started early on and really did the collection within the functional group. So okay. I was a hydraulics engineer. So our hydraulics section was probably, I'm going to say, is the elite in statewide collection, because they developed a system where everybody in the state is going to collect. And okay. So that is a very unified data source. It's not coming up though, so I can't. Oh well, wait. I'm gonna take you back to Georillia 1. There's others like the lighting. There's more and more push to do it statewide, but each district kind of does its own. ADA was definitely a statewide. It was even hired by our central office to do the collection. So it really depends. Okay. And you asked, Joe, who our user is for a different, it all depends. I mean, that's what's so beautiful about Georillia is it has so many different features, and you can turn so many different layers on at the same time. You can see how one functional asset can be can get mixed in with somebody else's. How does it affect?
Right. So does your agency have an asset management plan or program?
Yes. Yes.
And does that plan refer to Georillia as the data management system for overall agency asset management?
Not really Georillia as I'm going to say it's a tool. It's a tool, but it's not. It doesn't. It's we're using the TAM system.
Okay. Yep.
So it's connected. I mean,
so ultimately, okay. Sorry.
Joe and Ruth, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure where Matt or our AASHTO representative went, but this is Becky I'm just jumping in because I see some questions coming through from other people. If you want me to just go ahead and read those out. Everyone is muted. They've been typing in some questions though that I'm happy to share, or we could hold them until after Joe's presentation. What would you prefer? To answer a few of them now, or
maybe we should wait till after Joe's presentation.
Okay, because they may have similar questions that Joe may also want to weigh in on. I'd like to hear Ruth respond to that same question about data dictionaries on the stuff that you've built out in Georillia. Do you have complete dictionaries?
Okay. Well, remember, Georillia is just a viewer, so it's really up to the functional units to be the functional groups to be collecting their data. Like I showed the hydraulics, our stormwater people we're on top of things. Our sign inventory is collected. So when the functional units came and started doing the collection, they created their own data dictionaries. Now some of the lesser, or I shouldn't say lesser, smaller collections, we created data dictionaries. I kind of worked with the functional units, like let's say, for instance, the rural intersection lighting. I worked with our traffic department. Now that was not a statewide data set. So I worked with talked to the Metro Twin Cities area engineers and found out what they had collected already. They might have created a data dictionary, and so I just used that. For the rural lighting, they did not, so I worked with our traffic department and created a data dictionary that seemed applicable to what information they would like. That's one of the most important things I find is you have to talk to the functional unit to find out what's most important for them for collecting.
That's great. That was exactly what I was wondering, is if each unit, what that data governance kind of, how that was handled unit by unit if you're building out dictionaries. We're doing a similar thing here in Utah. Okay, this question is for Ruth, and it's from Alexa Mitchell as well. If Georillia is a tool and not the data management system, where is the data stored? And are there multiple databases that contain specific types of data, pavement, bridges, hydraulics, etc.?
Yes, we have multiple data storage sites. So yeah, I didn't even show you our PQI, and that our pavement management system is old. Was just converted to a new system. Otherwise, it was still a mainframe. So that needed a lot of work to make it more usable in the GIS realm. Otherwise, we have a spatial data warehouse, an Oracle spatial data warehouse. For the smaller data sets, we have a Postgres database that we work with, which is fantastic for users to be able to do spatial manipulations with the data.
Great. Let's see. There are a few more. We have time for a few more questions. Here's one from Daniel Teef, and I hope I'm saying everyone's names right. Is there a metadata tool in Minnesota that you can use, or that you use that you could show?
Yes, there is. Do you want me to send it back?
Yeah, let me send it back to you. Okay. You should be able to share your screen now, Ruth.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So if you, for every, and I hope I can find it. But for every data source, you have the ability to get metadata. So I am gonna shut off the pipes. I'm gonna zoom to District 6. I'm gonna turn on the right-of-way. And this question mark means that there's metadata. So when you click on that metadata, this gives you the information on that metadata. So the way we've done it, there's two different methods. Within the open source, I can do an HTML sheet that has this data, this in it. Also, our Metro or Twin Cities GIS section has created a data site, and I'm hoping I can find it. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to pull it up right away. But in here, I'm just going to. Can you see my Windows Explorer site?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So the basics with Georillia is we have a shared site that we use a configuration management system that I can push things to Georillia and pull things down from what other people have done. But and then I go to the apps and Metro GIS, and I'm hoping that I can find my metadata. Actually, I think it's, maybe I'm going too deep. Am I going too deep with this?
Perhaps.
Under metadata, this is where I keep my HTML metadata for certain ones. But like I said, Metro has a site where you can load up metadata for each layer.
Great. We probably have time for just a couple more questions, and then we'll have to wrap. But I want to make sure that we have we let everyone know that we'll share out your contact information, Ruth and Joe, so people can reach out to you if they have questions about these presentations. And they'll also be available on our GoTug site. So here's a question from Eric Abrams, and I believe this is for you, Ruth, but it could also be for Joe. I think it's for you, Ruth. It says, where is the data coming from? Do you have a direct connection, or are you using services like REST and GeoJSON? So what services does Georillia use?
This is a direct call to the database.
Okay. Cool.
So because this is internal.
Great. That's a great clarification.